Welcome to the conversation. So, let's jump into the world of business development strategy for labor buyers. It's fascinating how selling to production companies and event agencies, really relies on relationships, trust, and that operational fit.
Absolutely. It's all about being more than just another vendor. It's about building genuine connections.
Right. The whole idea is to get your name out there and be seen in the right places, whether it's at trade shows, networking events, or even through social media. It's as if it's like you're planting seeds that eventually bloom into trust and ongoing partnerships.
Yeah, and it's interesting how visibility and word of mouth, especially when referrals come from trusted insiders like PMs or TDs, become pivotal. There's a natural flow from that initial awareness to a more engaged conversation.
Right. And what really caught my attention is how the sales cycle has distinct stages. In the first phase, awareness and familiarity, you're actively getting on their radar. That means being where your potential buyers already hang out, sharing insights, case stories, and even the occasional white paper to establish credibility.
Exactly. I like that approach. It's very organic and not overly pushy. It seems, it emphasizes a lot on offering genuine value rather than just a hard sell.
Yeah, totally. And then comes the evaluation and trial phase, where the buyer essentially tests you out on a low-risk gig. Timing becomes super important here, because you're often not top of mind until that moment arises. So your consistent presence pays off.
I imagine that this phase is where your responsiveness and your ability to deliver on promises are scrutinized. They're looking at if your crew shows up on time, prepared, and ready.
Exactly. It's like you have to be as prepared as a well-oiled machine. There's a strong focus on communication here. Clear, concise messages, not bombarding with too much detail, yet enough to assure them you've got it.
And then there's the point of providing daily actuals by 10 a.m. That level of disciplined communication is both impressive and, challenging for some. It's a tactical move that really strengthens the relationship once you nail it.
For sure. It's a tool that benefits both the labor provider and the buyer, because it gives visibility into budget management and guarantees faster invoice approval. And honestly, it's a win-win situation that reinforces trust.
Yeah, indeed. But one thought that's slightly concerning to me is if this process is too rigid. I mean, while discipline is key, don't you think flexibility is equally important?
That's a great point. While the daily actuals and structured communication are necessary, the overall strategy is meant to be elastic. It's designed to adapt to the market's unpredictable nature and the uniqueness of every buyer's needs. It's about being consistent, yet flexible enough to adjust your tactics as needed.
Exactly. And then you've got the third phase, relationship building and expansion. After a few successful gigs, you're no longer a one-off option, but a known and trusted partner.
Yeah, that's when your follow-through really matters. If you keep in touch and continuously offer insights, tips, or suggestions, you gradually become their go-to person. It's almost like nurturing a friendship, but in the business world.
Absolutely. And I love the analogy. It's akin to being a personal consultant who's always one step ahead, suggesting improvements and, always looking out for subtle tweaks that can make a big difference.
For sure, it's strategic and not just about booking gigs. It extends into being there pre-show, during planning, and even in post-show debriefs. You're effectively weaving into their planning process.
True. I also find it interesting how they suggest getting other members of the production team involved early on. The more touch points you secure, the more embedded your role becomes.
Absolutely. It's like building a network within a network. Soon, you're not just a vendor, but a trusted advisor. And that brings us to the long-term partnership stage, where you formally become a strategic part of their operations.
Right, definitely. This is the phase where every interaction builds up on that core message. We are your local production partners. We want to make your life easier. These one-liner messages really encapsulate the essence of the relationship.
Yes, these messages are meant to be ingrained in every conversation. It's like a heartbeat that reminds both parties of the underlying trust and value. It's a subtle reinforcement of your commitment, incorporating aspects of value, accountability, and transparency.
Yeah, that's crucial. Speaking of that, the approach also emphasizes being present in regional communities and adapting to subtle, yet significant, local differences. How do you see that playing into building a loyal clientele?
Absolutely. That's another layer of complexity. Regional nuances. Think of it as tailoring your pitch like a fine suit, fitting not just the industry, but the local culture and terminology. This local touch bridges the gap between a generic solution and a personalized approach.
Definitely. And in an industry where even the talent pool is unpredictable, sometimes emotional, sometimes a bit unpredictable, this local approach really grounds the relationship.
Exactly. And there's a nice parallel with the objections buyers sometimes raise. Like hearing, "I've had bad experiences with labor companies," or "We already have a guy." Here, the approach is more about support rather than replacement.
Right. That's a smart move. Instead of feeling defensive, the provider steps in to show how they're different by being upfront about their process and the advantages they bring, such as reducing overstaffing.
Yeah, it's a matter of reframing the conversation from cost to value. They emphasize that better, accurate crewing can actually save money in the long run.
Exactly. That's a powerful shift. But I'm curious, doesn't that sometimes put a lot of pressure on the provider to constantly prove themselves, even to overcome past negative experiences?
It does. And that's why every interaction, every gig, is treated as a reaffirmation. They say, "You're only as good as your last show." So, maintaining excellence is the ongoing challenge and opportunity.
I see that. And that constant demand for excellence could, in some cases, be a double-edged sword, right? It motivates consistent quality, but also intensifies the pressure.
True, it's a balancing act. But remember, the strategy doesn't demand perfection every time. It's about learning, optimizing, and building that long-term trust. The feedback loops, like post-show debriefs, are designed to smooth out any extremes.
Yeah, exactly. Right, which makes it more about growth alongside the client. As their needs evolve, so does your approach. And that's where the deeper strategic partnership comes into play. Becoming a trusted partner who's in the loop from the get-go.
Exactly. In that phase, you're not just reacting to events. You're actively shaping the narrative, co-developing crew strategies, and ensuring strategic alignment on cost and efficiency.
Yep, that proactive approach is so key. I also found it interesting how the strategy highlights the use of various tactics depending on the relationship stage. For example, diffuse messages during initial contact versus more detailed, process-oriented messages as trust builds.
Absolutely. It's a deliberate escalation, starting with agile outreach, and then, as familiarity grows, deploying more structured communication like clear documentation, daily actuals, and even suggestions for process optimizations.
Exactly. And then there's the whole concept of positioning oneself as a local production partner. That phrase alone is loaded with promise, emphasizing local expertise, immediate availability, and a commitment to making the buyer look good.
Right? It's like wearing a badge of honor. It encapsulates not just your service offering, but a promise of partnership and reliability. Plus, it gives your messaging a human, relatable quality.
True. Before we wrap up, one final thought. How do you see these strategies adapting in a continually evolving market, especially with digital transformations and shifting market dynamics?
That's a great question. It's really about staying nimble and continually monitoring the pulse of the industry. Tactics like digital engagement, using LinkedIn, Instagram, and localized marketing never go out of style, but they need to be refashioned based on regional trends and client feedback.
Yes. So, in essence, it's a strategic dance, always monitoring, adapting, and proving value at every point of the sales cycle.
Exactly. And that's what makes it both challenging and exciting. If you nail it, you don't just make sales, you build relationships that drive long-term success.
Well said. It's a reminder that in business development, the soft skills are as important as the hard numbers.
Yep. And if you ever remember these fundamentals, you're already halfway to being a trusted, reliable partner in any market.
Absolutely. Thanks for this dynamic discussion. It's been enlightening.
Thank you as well. Catch you next time as we continue to explore strategies that drive true value in our industries.